Talk Weeklies after the talk on WPPM LP Philadelphia.
Yeah, this is one of the hottest radio shows that talks Charles's favorite segment, love and relationships. Whatever. Gives the good news and the bad news, and of course, the latest in entertainment news with the sizzle.
Dope. Yeah. So make sure you keep it locked to We Talk Weeklies after the talk with your boy Charles Gregory and the beautiful
Lauren Sizzle.
Every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on 106.5 FM.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is We Talk Weeklies after the talk. And before I say, my whole little spiel, all right, can I just say that I love Cardi B? She keep coming out with bangers after bangers after bangers after bangers. And so that young lady, man, I love Cardi B. I'm a fan of the underdog, of the come up, right?
You just in the parade.
I don't even understand what that means. We just gonna ignore her.
The parade, the bandwagon.
We just gonna ignore her because she's mad that Megatron isn't doing anything.
Oh, not at all. Absolutely
and you know
not.
that
Absolutely not.
Nicki,
Absolutely
what's her name? Nicki who is she? She not even relevant anymore. I forgot her name. But in any event, it's just one of those things.
He forgot her name.
And it's just one of those things that shout out to Cardi B. So this your boy Charles Gregory with the beautiful
Lauren Sizzle
and the beautiful
Classy Lady Sparkle.
And you already know what we got coming up next.
We got some Nicki Minaj.
Yes, but we just gonna ignore Sizzle as she talks about what's her name again?
That was just so lame.
You see that I could cut off her mic. Remember who this is, ladies and gentlemen. This your boy Charles Gregory with the beautiful. You don't hear her, do you? One of those things. So this your boy Charles Gregory, man.
I can cut yours off too.
And so it's one of those things, man. So what we got coming up next?
So we're gonna do a little impromptu love and relationships.
Boring.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. It's not.
What is it?
So
love and relationships.
I love your face right now, Charles.
Horrible. Love and relationships. Boring.
So I'm trying to.
It's boring. Just let's skip that and go into something.
Why? Tell us why it bores you so much.
Cause
can we have that conversation? Because you get upset every time this segment.
Cause it's like the violins come out and it's
Who's
so
crying?
like
Nobody's crying.
It's such like the double standard and it's so lame. Like it's all good, man. I got to deal with it. I guess I'm gonna be open minded. Go ahead, Sizzle.
Okay, so I mean. I don't even know if we should kind of get into this topic.
I think we should.
Well, what are your thoughts about like dating outside of your race? No,
that's fine. What's wrong with that?
Well, me, I guess I'm
personal preference, just like sexuality, just like dating outside of your sex or within your sex.
Yeah, I guess. Boom. That was. See?
I don't know. Same thing, ain't it?
All right. For the sake of playing devil's advocate, if you got a preference within sexuality, that's your preference. So if a person has a preference that they don't want to date outside their race, some people look at that as why not? Love is love. You know what I mean? So some people like, no, I would never date a white man.
So this is what I hear, right? For me, I'm pretty open. Like whatever. I prefer Black Girl Magic, though, right? That's my best. I prefer my preference. However, if I feel, just as a man of color, that whomever I date can identify with some of my challenges, some of the things I go through daily, right? That for some strange reason, as soon as I get pulled over on a cop, by a cop is so much anxiety. If you can't understand or get that nuance, then if you and I just in a relationship have an argument, a lot of those nuances will get lost in translation. So if you can understand me and where I come from and the challenges that I have especially a black male, which I know most black women can, which I know a lot of my Boricua sisters, right? A lot of like my Hispanic sisters, a lot of my Latinx, a lot of even people who are like even my white brethren, my Asian brethren, everybody who are born and grow up in the inner cities, in the dungeons, in the depths, in the hoods, and understand that dynamic, then possibly. But me and what's her name, the girl with the blonde hair, Becky the blonde hair, nope, definitely not. She won't understand me.
Okay, so just for the sake of radio, you would not date a white woman. Like, it's almost like sexuality. I am heterosexual, but somebody will tell me, well, have you ever had a relationship with a woman? No, I don't desire that. But you can't say that you don't know if you'll like it if you've never, but I don't desire it. So I don't even try it. Right.
When dating, it's all about preference.
Right. So my thing is, I've never dated a white man, Asian man. I've only dated black men. Now, if you start saying colorism, and I've dated dark-skinned men only a lot. So that's another. But you see what I'm saying? Just to keep it going, it's like, I prefer black men. If a white man, I won't date outside my race.
There's nothing wrong with it.
I feel similar to you on the other side, meaning that a black man raised me, and I know what that consists of, and I don't think that a man that is out of my race could relate to what my struggles are.
So you wouldn't date a Bobby?
Hello, how are you, Sparkle?
So
it's a pleasure to meet you.
But
it's
when
a
you
pleasure
talk
to meet
about
your acquaintance.
But those are that's more culture, though. What Charles is talking
That's
about.
what I'm talking about.
You know,
That's
coming
exactly
from
what I'm talking about.
coming from a certain culture, a certain environment, being around certain things, exposed to certain things, because you could be with a black woman who hasn't experienced any of that. And guess what?
Or a white man who...
And it doesn't matter that I'm a black woman. I will never know how a black man feels when he's, targeted, being pulled over or anything like that.
No,
because I'm a woman.
Let me back up.
Know what I mean?
A white woman who grew up in the hood.
But black women have their own challenges, right? Black women, as it relates to inner city in the hood, so you can relate to a degree,
as a race,
right?
but not as a man. Is what I'm saying.
But I'm not considering women to be men. What I'm saying is the nuances of being black in the inner cities. That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
Not
but
a black woman as being a man.
There are some people who are black who... I could be black, but then grow up in the inner city. But
that's my point.
Our cultures can still be different, but I'm still a black woman.
Preference, what I was saying, I said most black women. I didn't say all, because I know some. I have a few white female friends that's quote unquote blacker than some of a lot of my black women friends. So for me, it's about understanding, which is pretty much about everything. Having an understanding. If we have an understanding that you understand me, I understand you, that's the start of a great relationship.
Which is why I said culture.
Yes.
Versus color.
So
okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So can I keep it 100?
Keep it a bean, please.
Yes. So I have dated outside of my race. It was years and years and years ago.
A Robert Jackson?
Going to the bar.
You want your names? You want me to name drop?
It's not a right name.
Robert?
So, I mean, I kind of have like,
Jacob?
now that I've gotten older, because I was much younger then, but now that I've gotten older, like I've always been like, it's your personal preference, like whoever you want to be with. But now that I've gotten older and I started to see some things, I'm kind of like, I kind of feel for like my single black women who are successful and who have built, a career, and they're educated, and then they're having a hard time finding a man.
To jump in here.
Wait a minute, let me get it all out. They're having a hard time finding a man that's on their level. Now, the men that are on their levels are dating outside of their race, and that the successful black men are dating non-minority women. They're the ones that are in sports and the stuff like that, and then once they make it big, they find somebody that's outside of their race. Meanwhile, the good woman that's successful, that's educated, that has everything going for herself, she can't find anyone that's on her level, and the ones that are dating someone that is not a minority.
So we'll open up this discussion because we actually have visitor here, and so we'll go to the mics. But real quick, I have heard the debate and or discussion around, especially as it relates to black men who are successful, the Michael Jordans, who else? The Eddie Murphys, the people who are of affluence, who marries, our white sisters, right? Maybe I shouldn't call them sisters, but our white counterparts, right?
And I don't want to sound like prejudiced or anything, because I'm like, to each his own. Okay. I feel like
I like that you use prejudice.
Yes,
but
because I don't.
Black people can't be racist, so I like that you put prejudice in it. And that's a whole nother conversation. When you understand it, that's a whole nother conversation, and we'll have a discussion about that. But in any event, right? There has been a discussion around, men of affluence, a certain tax bracket, right? Marrying white women, and once they die, they leave that bulk of their income, whatever they're going to leave, they leave it back to the people who have oppressed us in the first place. So it's discussion around, is that okay? Is it fair? Can we use fair in this whole conversation or not? I don't know. But that is potentially a legitimate point for those who want to argue that. My position is, to some degree, that's correct. Because when you pass your wealth to your wife or your family. So if you have a family potentially that was under-resourced, right, that didn't have the successes in life, and then you marry because you are at a tax bracket. You have this gentleman that meets another woman potentially that's at a certain tax bracket, and so
we wouldn't show him the time of day if he didn't if he wasn't in that tax
I probably
bracket.
totally agree with that. That's I'm not debating that. All I'm saying is he probably wouldn't have met Becky with the blonde hair if he wasn't at a certain tax bracket. Now, he passed along. He gives that wealth to her, who already had wealth. His family, which potentially would have went to, who may have or may potentially be still struggling now, has nothing again. So what we worked for, right, and this is just an argument that I have heard. So if we worked all these years to become at least on the same playing field as our white brethren, right, then is it fair to now, after all that work, pass it back to them while we are still struggling? When we are arguing about reparations now, right? And so what is that answer? I don't know, but that's an argument, and it's legitimate.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I'm one of those single black women, that I feel like I built my career. I got my education. I have my house, my car, all that good stuff. And then it's like when you go to look around for somebody that's on your level that you can share it with, it's scarce.
Okay.
It's scarce. And the ones that are potential, mates, they're involved with,
the same way, Charles, you said you want somebody who understands you because y'all come from the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how it is when you get to a certain financial status or a certain stardom status.
I get that. I
and you're talking about it from a standpoint of a black man and a white woman. But what about the Eves and the Janet Jacksons and the Serena Williams?
Which I have a problem with also.
Which
I have a problem with also, because it becomes the idea of what Sizzle was just talking about. The conversation, especially I believe it was in Ebony or Black Enterprise or something, they were talking about a lot of black women can't find black men who are as educated, who are as quote unquote equally yoked as them. Mm-hmm. And so they potentially go to our white brothers, right? Which I potentially have a problem with, because if I'm saying that, I want to be with one of my sisters and I talk to them and I see that they wouldn't, or they didn't even give someone who looked like me a chance, that they feel like someone just potentially just the way they look is as equally yoked because of who they are, then me, I personally have an issue because that tells me something different as it relates to what your thinking is.
Well, here's what I'm sorry.
No, it may not be because of how they look. It's just what they're around.
I get
you
that.
See what I'm saying?
I
this
get
is what
that.
I'm around.
Potentially.
This is what
I won't
I'm
make
attracted to.
I'm not going to make any broad statements.
It's not like I'm not
going to,
if this is the person that's talking to me and he's stimulating my mind, and I got this one over here just with the yo, that ain't stimulating me. You know what I'm saying?
I get that. I get that.
It depends. You know what I mean? So it just depends on, like, when you get to a certain level and the stuff that you're around. You see what I'm saying? So when you get to a certain level financially, when you get to a certain level business wise, when you get to a certain level, those people that you're around all the time, that becomes your circle. And if you find yourself in a circle where it's not people that look like you, it's no different than if somebody black was raised in a white neighborhood and only went to white schools. So that's all they see and that's all they know. So yeah, they end up dating a white girl because that's all they saw.
Mm-hmm. It is something like that.
It's their environment, just like you
that's like
subject to your environment, and sometimes it's
like a Kobe Bryant.
I'm not going to get into Kobe Bryant, but I'm gonna say, especially as it relates to black men, you start to truly understand that you're black when you are faced with certain situations that you didn't want to act like you were faced with before, but then you run into a little snag, a speed bump, and then you realize that, you are truly black. And so because of that, I like for people to really identify with who they are, because I have a few Beckys who wanted to try to have a conversation with me and take it somewhere. But for me, I felt, and I'm just being honest, I felt it really weird. Like some of the things that I had, I tried to have a dialogue about, it was just like, huh? What's that? Which is cool to somebody because now you're opening up another conversation. But if I'm just letting her know that, I'm in my hood and some of the people in my hood don't like me just because I'm black or something like that, she may not understand that. Or she may not understand that I don't have a certain privilege. And you want to debate me about you don't have a privilege, but you really do have a privilege, even if you don't know you have a privilege. And so for me, I might be a little bit more layered than most, right? Because I have an understanding, right? But it's some that don't. And so having a discussion can really be very challenging if you don't understand certain things and nuances when it comes to a certain demographic. And I'm very unapologetic when it comes to people who are under-resourced, who are marginalized, because they don't start out at the same position. So I'm going to argue to the point all the time.
And then the other thing is, like, I even experience on the dating side, when you're out on a date with somebody of a different race, you're getting all the looks and stuff like that. And then even like when, like, if a black man is pulled over with a white woman, the police are in the black man's face. Like, what are you even doing with her? That goes back years and years and years. Like, even back to Jim Crow era.
Absolutely.
Like
before that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what I was going to say is what you're saying is true, and we're looking at it because we're black and we're comparing it with white, but you have Indians who want to keep within their race. You have Italians who want to keep it in their race, Spanish people.
Everybody.
So although we are speaking about it, and, people do procreate within mixed races, but it's so many different ethnicities that say, no, if you're not of this one religion or if you're not of this ethnicity, we don't want to come out of it.
Absolutely.
So,
and
you get disowned.
Yeah, it's definitely history, because
say.
it's the history of the families.
Right.
And no matter what culture, where you're from, what country, what you are, it's almost like it was embedded in us. It was instilled in us. So you had those Italian families, those Hispanic families, that you bring somebody home that wasn't didn't look like your family. It was like, what are you doing? Your family was the first to say something to you about that.
So even talking about Meghan Markle, like, she's now part of the royal family, and Elizabeth basically open arms for her to say, hey, we know that your mother is black and your father's white, but we accept you. And now they're moving to Africa or something.
But what you also know is that she got a lot of backlash which is unfair to her, which is another kind of stigma as it relates to people dating out of their race. And are you strong enough to deal with that? And which is a great transition because we have somebody in the show. Why don't you step up to the mic?
She's like, what? Like,
yeah, there you go.
Okay.
And so let's talk a little bit about, because, we said, she asked to come on the show. She was through a class with us.
Yeah, she's visiting.
Why don't you intro her real quick, and we'll ask her a little bit about this question that we're in.
So we, Charles and I had the opportunity to take a short course with Deanna Williams.
Great.
It was a really, really awesome experience. It was produced and host your own radio show with Deanna Williams and Derek Sampson. So Lena was attending the class with us, and we kind of all, was just kind of getting together and having her come on the show and just to look, behind the scenes of what we do. And, she's getting ready to start working on her show and her projects.
Hopefully.
I just put that out there. I just spoke it into existence. So yeah.
I appreciate that.
Make sure you're talking to the mic.
Oh, yes.
But welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So you hear a little bit about what the discussion is right now as it relates to relationships. So I want you to give your little input on first, again, because now we can't necessarily assume, one, how you identify, right? And then what's your take on your preferred, I guess, gentleman or woman or however you identify to date, in terms of colorism, right? In terms of race.
So I won't have a straight answer to any of those questions. So first, in terms of how I identify, so I am biracial. I'm Japanese and black.
Okay.
I was raised by my father, who's African American. So
shout out to Dad.
Yeah, right. So growing up, I definitely identify most strongly with being black, and that's not just because of being raised in a black household, but also, as we know, how you identify is informed by societal influence.
Correct.
Right. So even if I, for some reason, felt more strongly with my Japanese side, I'm still treated as black.
You're black.
Yeah, you're still right. You're still
right. So there's that.
That's one of the nuances right there. But go ahead. Yes.
So in terms of, I guess, dating preferences, I mean, I also prefer to date a black male.
Okay.
I can relate with your experience in terms of, you sort of, you do what you're supposed to do in terms of getting your education and getting a good career. And then you look around, you want to get your, have a brother by your side. And
so you don't want to date Ray who eat with his hands.
No.
You can't take Ray to Lebec Finn.
But you know what? It's not even Ray. I don't care what race, color, creed. I don't want somebody to act like that.
Yeah,
it's a joke. Go ahead. You can continue. Yeah.
So I was, I guess technically I'm still on a dating site, and I've started to look outside of black.
I was going to say that.
I'm like, well,
I did
let
too.
me pause on this profile.
My bad. Her mic went out for a second. Go ahead.
He is just such a hater.
I mean, because we know that, I can only speak for myself, but from my perspective, black men date so many other cultures, and I feel like black women tend to be more loyal to their black men.
Yes.
To the point where you're left single.
You better preach.
You either sort of look around, or you sort of settle for perhaps a life of singledom.
You gonna have me shouting up in here. You better preach.
And then, to the other point about how when maybe black men and black women rise to a certain status and they date outside, non-black in particular, we have to also remember, white has always been a status symbol.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And so, and folks may not be aware of that, but we can think of like Kanye West. Yes. Kanye West started out with a sister,
right,
like a sister, right. And somehow, and even his music reflected the black struggle, and somehow he ended up with who he ended up with. And not to say she's not a great person, I have no real opinion on that, but
it's an example.
White is a status symbol, and it's very influential.
White is right,
supposedly.
Yes, there you go.
Right.
Yeah, and then like even on the dating sites, like the final thought. Even on the dating sites, when you go on there and you're looking for like a black man, then you have the Caucasian. The white men are all on there.
How you doing, my sister?
That's the only time they want to come at you. Like when they see you on the street, they won't say anything to you, but they're on those sites.
They talk to you on the street.
They do. I got hit on today by Indian.
Honey, they don't talk to me offline or online, so I don't. I don't know.
That's funny. They do. No doubt. All right. What was that again? I done lost it.
Love and relationships.
Charles' favorite segment.
Boring. Period. All right, so ladies,
and we have Nona is with us.
Shout out to
she's
Nona.
Philly Cam family also, and she took the class with us at Scribe. So
no doubt. But unfortunately, y'all, we gotta go. It was fun while it lasted, man. We gotta make sure that we do this all the time and often. And yeah, you know what I'm saying. It's just another day, another thing out the it's another show out the box, as they say. It's your boy Charles Gregg with the beautiful
Lauren Sizzle.
and the beautiful Lady S. Style is in the building. But unfortunately, we gotta go. We Talk Weekly podcast is now on Hot Radio, our podcast, Spotify, and Spreaker. Make sure you follow us on the podcast and binge listen to our shows. Like and follow us on We Talk Weekly Facebook page. And if you're Philly, catch us Monday night 9:30, Comcast 66. Just what? Download the little TuneIn app. Look for WPBMLP 106.5 FM and tune in every Tuesday 7 p.m. We Talk Weekly's After the Talk. Follow us on Instagram at Facebook at We Talk Weekly, at Charles Gregg, at Lauren_Sizzle, at Sparkle Prices One. Subscribe to our We Talk Weekly YouTube channel. And if you're in Philly, catch us Monday night 9:30, Comcast 66, Verizon Spikes 2930. We Talk Weekly is now on Higher Than 7 TV. Make sure you go to higher7.com. Subscribe and look for who?
We Talk.
Check this out. I hope y'all ready for this. Make sure you catch up. We Talk Weekly is now syndicated. You can find us in Atlanta, Birmingham, Chicago, Delaware, Houston, Jacksonville, Los Angeles, Miami, Newark, New Jersey, Newark City, all across the nation. Who do you look for?
We Talk Weekly.
Unfortunately, we gotta go. It's 7:59 and we right on time. And you know what I say? If you ain't here, you a square. Cause this is where all the cool people hang out. So we out here like last year. Hello.
Peace. Hey, what's up, you guys? It's your girl, Lauren Sizzle, and you are tuned into one of the hottest talk shows in the nation, We Talk Weekly's After the Talk. Make sure you tune in each and every Tuesday at 7 p.m., and you can listen anywhere. Just download the TuneIn Radio app. Look for WPPM 106.5 FM on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. And I got some good news for you. You want to binge listen to our shows? Follow We Talk Weekly's After the Talk podcast on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify, and Spreaker. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to check out all of our amazing shows and event coverage. And follow We Talk Weekly on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And most importantly, keep it locked.